The moment a stranger screamed that mid-order's insulin was fake, the entire cabin went silent. I felt every eye turn toward us as fear tightened micast. My child's life was suddenly a public argument at 35,000 feet, and I had no idea that woman was about to change our entire flight. I still remember the smell of jet fuel mixing with recycled cabin air as we boarded the plane, my wife holding our backpacks. My daughter clutching her small medical pouch like height was a treasure chest. She's used top hat pouch. She has to be. Inside it, washer insulin, syringes, glucose tabs, things most people never think about, but things that decide whether mid-order is okay or not. We had flown before plenty of times, and I thought Ewa was prepared for the looks, the questions, the occasional nosy passenger. I was wrong. We were halfway down the aisle when I noticed her. Perfect posture, tight smile, arms crossed like she was already annoyed we existed. She looked at our seats, then at us, then back at her phone as if offended by the air we breathed. I didn't think much of it. I should have it we sat down. My daughter buckled her Zelfin, smiling, humming softly. She was excited. Flying still felt magical to her. I was checking under the seat for space when I heard a sharp, exaggerated sigh. Then another. Then a voice loud enough to cut through the chatter. "Excuse me," the woman said. "What is it?" I looked up. She was staring directly at my daughter's pouch. "It's sure medical kit." I replied calmly. I've learned calm is the first line of defense. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "That doesn't look like real medication, that I'm sorry." She leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Insulin? That's insulin?" I didn't believe that. People fake medical stuff all the time to get special treatment. My daughter stopped humming to my wife froze. I felt my stomach drop. I explained quietly, carefully. I told her my daughter was diabetic. I told her the kit was required. I told her we had documentation. I didn't raise my voice that I didn't want a scene. That's when she raised hers. "This is dangerous," she snapped, suddenly standing. "You can't just bring random chemicals onto a plane. My cousin works in aviation. You know the rules." Heads turned. Conversation stopped. I could feel the heat crawling up my neck. "It's prescribed medication," I said slower now. "Please sit down." But she didn't. She pointed at my daughter. Pointed. "That child doesn't look sick. That insulin is not real. They're lying." That was the moment that shocked me. Not the accusation, not the ignorance, the confidence, the way she said it. Like she was announcing a fact, like mid-order's diagnosis was something she could vote against. My daughter's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Daddy." I stood up. Before I could say another word, the flight attendant hurried over, eyes wide, hands already raised in that practiced calm. She asked what was going on. The woman launched into a dramatic explanation about fake medicine, safety threats, and irresponsible parenting. She spoke over me, over my wife, over my child. It watched the attendant's expression change, not toward us, but toward her. Then another crew member appeared, then another, and that's when I realized the situation was no longer just uncomfortable. It was about to become something much bigger. I held mid-order's hand tighter, trying to steady my breathing, unaware that the next few minutes would completely flip the power in that cabin and expose exactly who the real problem was. The tension didn't drop when the crew arrived. It thickened. You could feel it in the air, heavy and electric, like the moment before a storm breaks. The woman, Karen, though I didn't know her name yet, crossed her arms tighter, clearly pleased with herself, as if she had just done the plane a heroic favor. One of the flight attendants knelt down to mid-order's level first. Her voice softened instantly. She asked her name, asked if she was feeling okay, asked if she had her insulin with her. Mid-order nodded, wiping her eyes, still holding my hand like it was the only solid thing left in the world. Karen scoffed loudly. "See, coaching her already. That's how they do it." That's when my wife spoke up. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the edge underneath. She explained again, diagnosis, prescription, doctor's letters, TSA clearance. She even pulled out the folder we carry for situations exactly like this. The attendant took it, glanced through it, and nodded. Karen didn't nod. Instead, She leaned toward the aisle and raised her voice again. So, you're just going to take their word for it? What if that stuff leaks? What if it's something illegal? It paid for this seat. I shouldn't have tossed it next to a potential hazard. The word hazard echoed in my head. The attendant straightened up and asked Karen to lower her voice. Karen did the opposite. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being responsible. If something happens on this flight, it's on you. That sentence did it. I saw the shift. The attendant's smile disappeared. Not angry, but firm, professional. The Kindorf expression that says you cross from opinion into problem. She quietly signaled to another crew member who disappeared toward the front of the plane. Karen noticed. Oh, so now you're calling people, she said loud enough for 3 rows to hear. Good. Call whoever you want. I want this documented. Passengers were fully watching now. Phones subtly lifted, whisper spread. I hated that mid-order was at the center of it all. I hated that her medical condition had turned into in-flight entertainment. The second crew member returned, not alone, a senior attendant, maybe a supervisor, and shortly after that, the captain himself appeared at the edge of the aisle. His presence alone snapped the cabin into silence. He listened, didn't interrupt, let Karen talk herself into a corner. She repeated everything. Fake insulin, safety risk, favoritism. She even claimed we were trying to manipulate the crew emotionally. When she finished, she folded her arms again, smug, waiting for validation. Instead, the captain turned to us. He asked one question. Calm, direct. Is your daughter diabetic? Yes, I said. He nodded once. Then he turned back to Karen. Ma'am, your behavior is causing a disturbance and distress to a minor passenger. Her face flushed. So you're siding with them? I'm stating facts. He replied. That's when Karen escalated. She demanded medics. She demanded to be moved. She demanded that our family be removed from the flight for safety reasons. She said she felt threatened. She said she was being ignored. Her voice climbed higher with every sentence. And then she made the mistake that changed everything. She tried to grab my daughter's medical pouch. It happened fast. Her hand shot out, fingers brushing the strap. My wife gasped. I stepped forward instantly. Blocking her. The crew reacted at the same time. Do not touch that. The captain shot sharply. That was it. The senior attendant spoke into her radio. Calm voice, clear code. Moments later, before Karen even realized what she had done, the captain turned back to and said something I will never forget. Sir, for your daughter's comfort and safety, we're going to have medical personnel take a look at her, and we're also going to move your family to a different section of the aircraft. Karen opened her mouth to argue, but she never got the chance because 2 medics were already walking down the aisle. The medics moved with quiet confidence, the kind that instantly lowers your heart rate if you've ever been truly scared. Point one knelt beside my daughter, smiling gently, asking her how she felt, when she last ate, when she last checked her levels. Another spoke softly to my wife while I stood there, hands clenched, adrenaline still buzzing through me. Karen, meanwhile, looked confused, not outraged, not victorious. Confused like the script in her head had suddenly been thrown away. The medic examined insulin kit, checked the labels, nodded, and said clearly, audibly, "This is real insulin. Everything here is properly stored and completely safe." The words hung in the air. A few passengers let out quiet breaths. Someone behind us muttered, "Unbelievable." Karen's face went red, then pale. Well, she said quickly, laughing once, sharp and forced. I was just being cautious. You can't blame someone for caring about safety. The captain didn't smile. He thanked the medics, then turned to use again. He apologized, not a generic apology, one of those rare, sincere ones. He said our family had done absolutely nothing wrong. He said our daughter had handled herself with more grace than many adults would. Then he looked at Karen. Ma'am, he said, your actions cross multiple boundaries. Touching another passenger's medical equipment is unacceptable. Accusing a family of fraud without evidence is unacceptable. Causing distress to a child is unacceptable. Karen interrupted him. So what? I'm the villain now. He paused just long enough to let the silence answer for him. Here's the twist I never saw coming. She broke, not loudly, not dramatically. She slumped back into her seat and muttered, "You don't understand. People lie. They always lie." The senior attendant asked her to explain. And suddenly, the truth spilled out, not because she wanted to confess, but because she couldn't stop herself. She started talking about her job, about how she'd been demoted recently, about how she'd been scammed by a coworker who faked a medical emergency to get time off, about how nobody believed her, about how she was tired of being ignored. This flight wasn't about mid-order. It was about control, about someone who felt small and decided the easiest way to feel powerful was toe tag a child who couldn't fight back. The cabin saw it, too. You could feel the mood shift. Sympathy drained away. The captain made a decision right there. Karen was informed she would not be sitting in her assigned seat for the remainder of the flight, due to her behavior. She would be relocated to a monitored seat near the back, and any further disruption would result in removal upon landing. Her mouth opened, closed. She nodded stiffly. Then the attendant turned to us. She smiled up, really smiled this time. "Sir, we Liquido move your family to first class. It's quieter, more comfortable, and your daughter can rest without stress." For a second, I couldn't speak. First class. Because someone accused my child's insulin of being fake. We gathered our things as passengers watched us pass. Not with curiosity now, but with warmth. A woman whispered, "You handled that soul." A man nodded at my daughter and said, "You're very brave." As we settled into the wide seats, blankets offered, drinks brought, my daughter leaned against me and said, "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" That broke me. I held her close and told her the truth. "No," I said, "you did everything right." The flight smoothed out after that. The noise faded. The tension dissolved. Somewhere behind us, Karen sat alone, silent, finally stripped of the tension she'd been chasing. And as we flew on, upgraded, not just in seats, but in faith. Faith that sometimes when the world is loud and cruel, doing the right thing still finds its way to the front. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring you even more exciting and dramatic HOA stories. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story where justice gets even more satisfying.